Giga Texas is 67% done, and production may begin in the next month. And I'll tell you why. I'm Brian. Welcome to My Tesla Weekend. The biggest takeaway this week is consistency. And oh man, has it been steady. My predictions were sheer madness when they started back in December, but the numbers are looking so darn good, so let's just get into them. The footings in orange have inched up a bit again this week, though not at the pace they need to maintain to hit early December completion targets, maybe not even end of December targets, but we'll get into that later. There's much more interesting stuff to talk about. The framing work is still moving forward, and look at how steady it has been. With a few ups and downs, it's been tracking nicely since mid-April without much variation. The site overall has been rock steady. Look at that. Since mid-April, it's been creeping along at a rocksure pace, and even though every week I wonder how they'll keep it up, they just do. The roof is looking every bit as steady, and if anything, it may be on a bit of an upward trajectory, though again, and yes, I've said this before, they are running out of framed areas to cover, but they just keep framing up more areas and covering them as time goes on. The interior work is steady on a whole other pace. It's been accelerating since it was first counted in the beginning of March, and while it may slow in coming weeks, especially next week since there were very few areas closed off this week, there will surely be some big jumps at various points coming up. This trend line has been predicted. Thanks to the amazing Jeff Roberts for allowing use of his footage. Not just a great drone pilot, but a great dude, as you can see in our interview from so long ago, it almost feels like another lifetime. So here's the thing. The factory isn't going to be done anytime soon, at least as measured by finished walls and all that. Maybe not even this year, depending how you count it. But that doesn't mean they won't be producing cars before that point, and let me tell you why. The Stamping Cathedral was the first place walled off, and equipment was trucked into there over 3 months ago, as you can see in this video. The body and white robots have been put in place for almost as long, as you can see here, and we've seen pictures from inside there showing it's nearing completion. The paint shop also started getting its equipment 3 months ago, and a few weeks ago we saw interior footage of the final assembly line. So what's left? The mega castings? They've been cranking those out for weeks. So seriously, what's left? Just walls, I assume. Cars will be coming out of this facility right quick. And yes, the battery portion of the building is far from done, but Shanghai still doesn't have a battery facility, and they've already sold hundreds of thousands of cars. No, the remaining obstacles to production are very few. All of the areas critical to Model Y production are nearing completion, and Giga Texas is almost ready to begin production of those vehicles, with the unfinished portions of the factory left over for Cybertruck and whatever other vehicles may be produced here. Still, in order to be done by the first week of December, they'll need to get all the footings poured by July 26th, and since they typically take about 4 weeks to fully cure before columns are added onto them, that means they need 6.8 every single day for the next 28 days. And yeah, that's not impossible, but it's pretty close to it. There are ways they can erect steel prior to the 28-day mark, but this still looks like a target that will be missed, pushing the completion out to at least the end of December. But again, it doesn't have to be done to start making cores. If you want to get deeper into the methodology used to track the site, check out some of the earlier videos in the series. But if you have questions, don't be afraid to ask them. And for that matter, if you have answers, don't be afraid to look down in the comments and respond to them. I just ask that you guys be nice to each other. And if it's not too much trouble, be nice to me too. Sheesh, some of you guys. As the summer moves on, we'll see what the actual pace of footings does to the math and add a new element to the tail end with an additional bit tacked on as needed to account for whatever the lingering tail of interior work requires. Those last 4 months after the walls go up will feel like forever, but so much work will remain underway on the interior. So let's take a look at the site map and get into the timeline projections. But as usual, please spare me 6 short seconds to thank my Patreons who get early access, bonus material, and keep the channel running for as little as $1 a month. YouTube famously pays F all to content producers, and your generous support is quite literally what ensures I can keep going, and a thank you. So, let's take a look at the site map and roll it back to December 14th and roll through it week by week. There was very little information to go on in the early days, so there have been adjustments over time. The orange represents the footings, with the darker orange representing deeper or heavier ones. The gray indicates framing work. The darker gray indicates a first layer of roofing. The blue indicates walls have been put up, so the interior area can begin its count. The darker the blue, the more floors there are. The black lines indicate firewalls or expansion joints, with the heavier ones outlining the concrete areas. That is looking so good. As a reminder, this only counts the main Emerald building and not any of the other projects on the site, since we haven't been able to determine their eventual size. As of today, Giga Texas, the future birthplace of your Cybertruck, is 67% done and will be complete, for lack of a better word, in a total of 509 days from groundbreaking on or about December 11th of this very year. It's mostly a 2-floor structure, as you can see, and now has a total of over 7.4 million square feet framed up, which is 689,000 square meters. Yeah, it has grown more in the last week than the entirety of the Nikola factory in Arizona. There's still a lot of extra work taking place around the site, and that isn't slowing down either, but for the main Emerald footprint, the only part we're tracking here, where we can actually know the final size and scope, man, it is running right on pace. For now, at least. Next week, let's do a Q&A. Why don't you ask me all the questions, preferably about the tracker, you want answered, and that's going to be the big extra bonus feature on next week's video. Let's find out what you want to know. Let's get you some answers with quality. So, what did I miss or misunderstand? Leave me all your clever insights in the comments, and stay tuned, stay juicy. And to all those 3 haters out there who hate me saying it, I can't wait to hear from you clever robots on the cool side of the pillow, which, with the heat wave this weekend, is where I plan to spend as much time as I can.